Hey guys, it's Krystal, and the video that you're watching right now is being shot on a Pixel 6a. Shout out to Google for letting me check it out early. This is Google's latest device that follows in the footsteps of the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro from last year, but for less of a cost. Such a tiny little box. Ooh, look at that green. This is the Sage Pixel 6a. I'm all about this color. Wow. I always love a good two-tone color design. There's like a darker sage and a lighter, more seafoamy color on the top. Very beautiful, black on the edges. I almost wish it was maybe like white or silver colored with this color, but this looks beautiful. I also have a little bonus Pixel 6a case. It's a matching green case. Ooh. A translucent. This reminds me of the last generation of the Pixel 6 cases as well. And yeah, this phone is kind of like using a Pixel 6. It is just the mid-range option. Looks beautiful. Love that. Let's power it on. We are all set up, looking good, and I'm actually really loving the size of this phone compared to other flagships out there. I feel like, I mean, it's not that small, but it does feel smaller and it feels comfortable in my hand. This phone looks almost identical to the Pixel 6, and it is in a lot of ways beyond looks, but especially looks wise, I mean, it's got that dual tone color thing going on. The Pixel 6 came in that seafoamy color, and this is more of a green color. It also comes in chalk and charcoal, but this is the color Sage, and I am all about it. I mean, Sage is one of my favorite colors to begin with, so to see it on a phone like this, it's just beautiful. I mean, I just love how muted and pastel it looks. I am all about this color. It's a little smaller than the Pixel 6, but you get a really similar looking display, similar specs. It's a 6.1 inch OLED panel. I do wish it went up to 90 Hertz though. It caps out at 60. And if you're just everyday scrolling and using the device lightly, you might notice this, might not, depending what you're coming from. Apart from that though, I really have enjoyed this display. I love watching videos on here. The colors pop nicely, especially if you bump it up in the settings. And that's really the case for a lot of this phone. When you dive into those settings, you can really tailor it to how you want to use it. You can also toggle on the always on display in the settings, which is something I did right away when I was setting this thing up. Even though it does consume a little more battery, it is something that I really love about this phone because not every phone has it, and it's so nice to be able to glance over at your display without tapping it and see the time or the battery levels amongst other things. So I'm really happy to see it here on the 6a. Performance wise, it is nice to see the same processor as the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, Google's very own Tensor chip. Now, since this is the A of the lineup though, we do get a little less memory and also limited to one storage option at 128 gigs. But all around, I mean, if you're not a power user, if you're not gonna be editing photos and videos all the time and gaming all the time, you probably won't even notice the performance difference from the 6a compared to the 6 or 6 Pro. Let's talk about that camera though. I've taken so many pictures over the past few days, and I just gotta say, Google's image processing almost never fails. I mean, straight out of the camera, these pictures look really good. The colors just pop at you. It's not all around perfect. I would say there's definitely room for improvement, especially when it comes to portrait mode. But all around, I mean, for a phone that costs $450, it's a pretty solid camera experience. Selfie time. It's looking very nice and wide. We got like a nice little wide angle selfie. Cool. How about this? 1.4. Oh, this is like what selfies regularly look like. So this is like a regular wide angle. We got two options there. I probably will always opt for that one times where it's like a little wider. You get more in the shot. Get my snake plant in there. How about portrait? What does portrait look like? Processing, and yeah, so when you're taking it, you don't see it. After you snap that photo, we get that processing going on in there, and then boom, portrait mode. Looks really good, the lighting looks great. It almost looks it's like a little airbrushed, but not too much. How about, I'm gonna do like a reverse selfie. I'm fully blind, I don't know what these are looking like. Let's try some selfie video as well. 3, 2, 1, here we go. Selfie video on the Pixel 6a. I'm gonna turn around. Let's see how it does with that light right behind me. Still exposing me nicely. Turn around this way, some more bright areas. It's looking pretty good. We can also switch that angle while we're recording. So this is like that close up look and wide angle. It's rocking a 12.2 megapixel dual pixel wide camera with an f-stop at 1.7. There is no telephoto, but you can digitally zoom in at 2 times. The front camera is the exact same as on the Pixel 6 with 8 megapixels at an aperture of 2.0. And again, the image processing, even in selfies, is just lovely. It's been the sunniest and brightest of days lately, but the dynamic range is pretty solid every time. Nothing is ever too overexposed. Portrait mode is looking good too. Like I said before, it's definitely not perfect with edges, especially in outdoors. It seems to have more trouble when there's more going on, but I do like the look of these overall. I just gotta say though, one of my favorite things about using the 6A, and this applies to the entire 6 lineup, but it's the camera features, especially on the software side. When you dive into the onboard camera app, there's so much you can do, but when it comes to photo editing, I really love using the magic eraser and camouflage feature because of how smoothly it works. Now diving into the camera settings here, you can also do a quick live translate with Google Lens, and this isn't anything new, but I want to try it out anyway and see how fast it processes it. So I have the instruction manual here. It actually says English right at the top, so I'm gonna just translate it right to Spanish with translate, live translate, English to Spanish. Wow, it already did it. I'm gonna take a photo. And it's super quick. Everything's in Spanish now.
Garantía y normativas para Pixel Sexta. Este folleto proporciona información importante.
Wow, that's a slow Spanish speaker. If it was a Dominican Spanish, I'd be like, we'd be racing through that. But it does a really good job. I don't really see any mistakes or anything, and it actually looks like it was right on the paper. Now, I also want to note that I've been using this phone outside a lot, especially during this heat wave that's been going on. And because of that, the phone would get really hot to the touch, especially on the sides here. But even so, it wouldn't really impact the way that I use the phone. The only thing that was disabled was the camera's flash, which didn't really matter on a bright sunny day. That's something that I would mostly use at night, and even then, not so often. So it was nice to be able to still, use the phone. I mean, even viewing the phone's display, thanks to the high brightness mode, it was still very viewable. And overall, the photo and video experience in a bright, hot, sunny situation was still very seamless. The coolest thing about this phone is how much of those flagship features we do get. Yes, it is a smaller battery. We don't get wireless charging or the ability to battery share and charge other devices, but you're cutting the costs and still getting a very sleek looking device with all the necessities and more. One cool bonus of it being a less power intensive device is that you can get up to 72 hours of battery life with extreme battery saver on, and up to 24 hours plus otherwise, which hangs right in with the more expensive options. So yeah, it cuts some corners due to the cost, but it makes up for it by still feeling like a all-around flagship device for $450.